If you want to fight against the Empire or you want to blow up some rebel scum, I've got the games for you. On today's episode of Gamer Logic, we're covering both X-Wing and TIE Fighter on the PC. Let's do this. You know, I don't talk about PC gaming very much on my channel, and that's unfortunate because PC gaming in the 1990s played a very pivotal part of my gaming experience back in the day, and I still play PC games, but I was very, very, very heavily influenced by PC gaming in the period of probably 1992 to 1997, 1998. I got my first Packard Bell PC computer with Windows 3.11 on it, Pentium 100 processor, 8 mega RAM, 2 megabytes of video memory, quad speed CD-ROM, and a 850 megabyte hard drive. And back then that thing was pretty awesome. Other than the fact that it was actually a Packard Bell, that was kind of like Turdsville in terms of computers. They loaded all this extra crap on top of extra crap on your computer, filled out a ton of stuff in your config.sys and autoexec.bat that you didn't need. It was an entire mess, but it didn't matter because back then we were DOS gamers. We did everything in the DOS command line. We played our games there. We didn't really play anything in Windows 3.11, and we were all kind of freaked out when Windows 95 came out, right? So when I got a hold of my first PC, there were many games that were very influential to me. Doom, of course, Heretic, all those first-person shooters, Wolfenstein 3D. But the games that really, really, really sucked me in was anything by LucasArts. And what extremely sucked me in was this game right here. This is TIE Fighter. This came out in 1994, and a friend of mine let me borrow this game from school. His name was Zach. And he said, yeah, if you're liking games like Rebel Assault and you've played Wing Commander on the Super Nintendo, you're absolutely going to love TIE Fighter. I mean, come on, it's Star Wars. And plus, you were playing as the bad guy, right? Totally different. I don't think there were any games at that point that actually allowed you to play as the evil Empire in Star Wars, at least none that I could remember. So this was really that first taste. So I went to school and my buddy had the game and he handed me this box right here. And right away you're just looking at it, you see Vader on the cover here, you see a TIE flying out, you see TIE bombers. It just looks super, super cool. And this was, believe it or not, now I played floppy disk games before, but they were on the Commodore 64. I think they were 5 1/4 inch, not 3 1/2 inch floppies like I was going to get here. And yes, I still have TIE Fighter on floppy disks. So this has, what is it? I think it's 5 disks altogether. Yeah, 5 floppy disks that you would load into your A drive on DOS, run the installation, start popping the disks in, and you'd be good to go. And this TIE Fighter really came with a ton of cool stuff to it. You had the Steel Chronicles, which had pretty much its own storyline that really advanced the Star Wars story. You had your Starfighter pilot manual, and then you had your TIE Fighter package contents here that would tell you everything that would come with. So Starfighter pilot manual, registration card, a reference card, 5 3.5 inch floppy disks, and I think it's the Steel Chronicles actually. But yeah, it will tell you how to actually set up TIE Fighter and how to start it up from your C drive once you put it on there, right from your hard drive. So this has everything here. So there are suggestions on here on like how to make a boot disk and how to adjust your EMS memory, all of this stuff. And I remember having to make some extreme adjustments to my autoexec.bat and config.sys to actually get this game to work so it would free up EMS memory. That seems like so long ago. But what was cool is on the way home from school, I'm reading this Starfighter pilot manual. I'm wondering what these, and it may be a little hard to see because I got just so much light here, But on the bottom, see on the bottom corner of these pages here, there's all these different symbols. Because this was a floppy disk game, they wanted to have copyright protection for it, because you probably heard the term "don't copy that floppy." That was very prevalent. Piracy, I should say, was very prevalent back then. It'd be easy to copy floppy disks. There was nothing to it, right? So what did people do? What did developers do? What did game companies do to prevent people from just copying the game and playing it? Well, that's what these little symbols are. They're copy protection symbols. When you start up the floppy disk edition of TIE Fighter, it will actually ask you for these symbols. So unless you go through and actually photocopy this very manual, you would have no way of actually getting into the game. Now, I'm sure there's probably some cracks or something out there that people use to get past that, but that is how you bypass the copy method. So imagine, to my surprise, the first time seeing this, it kind of blew my mind a little bit, going, huh, what an interesting way to do copy protection. So if you lost your Starfighter pilot manual, you were pretty screwed. You gotta wonder too, like, if you did lose it or someone stole it from you, like, would LucasArts send you another one? How much would they charge you for something like that? Because how do they know whether or not you actually sent it? Maybe that's what the registration card is. But man, I know I've talked a lot, and I haven't even talked about the gameplay to this, let alone X-Wing, but I have a lot of memories for this. But I got home, I popped the disc in, I installed it, got all my EMS memory stuff figured out, and I remember trying to play this on a Gravis gamepad, right? These games have so much stuff that you can actually do to it. You can adjust your shields, you can increase your laser energy, you can increase the amount of energy you have to recharge your laser, you have different speeds you can adjust your fighter to. There are so many different commands that you can do in this game that you're not going to be able to do it with a 4-button gamepad, right? And on a gamepad, it just didn't feel good. It didn't feel right. So as I was going through the first couple missions, I was blown away by the opening cutscene in the game and trying to get through playing with the gamepad and then playing with the keyboard. I convinced my dad to let me buy a flight stick. And I was just thinking about this because I eventually got a real flight stick, and I have one for the 3DO, and I should have brought it up here before I recorded this video so I could demonstrate what it looked like, but that's okay. I got my first actual flight stick. It was really cool. It was this black flight stick with suction cups that would suction cup onto the counter, and you could use it left-handed. You had to be very careful of what sticks you picked up back in the day because most joysticks were right-handed. I'm left-handed, so this was a perfect stick for either a left-handed or right-handed person. You had the handle of the joystick, you had your trigger, you had a button on the top for firing your missiles, and then you had buttons on the side that would flow through like your different targeting mechanisms and stuff for what the next target was, and I believe the left one you could hit for the closest target, which was really awesome. That really brought you into the TIE Fighter experience. Here you are a fighter pilot for the Empire, you're in a TIE Fighter that has no shields, you're a sitting duck, you can't take that many hits, but you have to do these death-defying fights against rebel forces that actually have shields on most of their ships. You're fighting pirates, and eventually, the further you get into this game, you'll eventually start fighting Imperial defectors, which is all explained in these awesome cutscenes, in mission briefings and debriefings. There's just so much great stuff to this game. I would put headphones on during this game. I would just totally fall in love with the Star Wars universe. And that joystick I bought, I broke that flight stick. I didn't break it because I was, getting angry at the game and throwing it on the floor. There was just that much wear and tear that I was doing at it. I'll never forget. I'd be sitting, I'd be at my computer at the desk here, and I'm flying, and all of a sudden I get an alert that someone's fired a concussion missile at me, and I'm cranking on the stick, right, because I'm trying to avoid getting hit by the enemy. The flight stick that I had just could not handle that. In between TIE Fighter and X-Wing, I think I went through like 3 joysticks before I finally gave up and paid more money and was able to get an actual Flight Stick Pro, which had all the bells and whistles, had really great glide control. It was kind of a bigger unit. It really didn't sit down as nice as that cheaper Flight Stick did, but it lasted a very, very long time. I had all the medals you could get in TIE Fighter. I was a part of the secret order that you could join that protected the Emperor and had all the secret missions with that. And it was just a total blast. And I never played the expansion packs that came with it. There were some additional expansion packs that you could get that I believe were also on floppy disk, but eventually came out on the TIE Fighter Collector's Disc. And just so you guys know, the footage that I'm kind of cutting in between my video as well as showing off the game is actually from the TIE Fighter Collector's Edition. Both TIE Fighter and X-Wing came out initially on floppy disk, and later they released a Collector's Edition CD with better graphics, better cutscenes, better music, all sorts of stuff. I used better music loosely because it didn't use the Muse system as well as the floppy disk version did. So I will stop talking about TIE Fighter because I'm probably like 15 minutes into this video and you're probably getting ready for me to shut up. So I conquer TIE Fighter, right, in 1994, finish everything off, and little do I know that reading on the box here, it says that this is the sequel. Originally, there was a game called X-Wing where you played on the Rebel side, and I thought, you know, after blowing up all the Rebel scum, it's time to go back to the good guys and join the Rebels. So this game was pretty much out of print by the time I wanted to check it out, because this came out in, what's the date here, 1992. This came out in 1992 when I was just getting my hands on a Super Nintendo Entertainment System for the first time. And I wanted this game, right? So it was a couple years after the fact. Where do I go to find X-Wing? So my friend lets me know at the time, who was also very, very into PC gaming, that there was this mail order site that I could contact, and I should say mail order store for used PC games, and it was called Gamers Gold. And I did a long search on the internet for this to try to find any kind of record or anything that this place existed, and now it's just like some cheap pirate key website deal. So unfortunately, I can't find any recollection, any record of this place being in existence. But to get back to what I was talking about, Gamers Gold actually had X-Wing, and they had it for like pretty cheap. I think it was like 12 or 14 bucks. What you did was you either wrote a check or you did a money order, you sent it to them with the order form that you could get, and you would get your game. So the funny thing I remember is, for me, in order to get the order and the catalog and stuff, you had to call them up and they would send you one. And then once they sent you one, you'd get the order form and you could see what they currently had, and then you could write the check for it. Depending on what you dialed, the way they had their number, it was like one off from a 1-800-porn site, if I remember correctly, called 1-800-SPANK-ME, or maybe it was 1-900. I'm pretty sure it was 1-800. So if you were like one digit off, you would get this very sexy woman on the side of the phone in an automated call telling you to put your credit card number in. And thank God I never had my parents call and accidentally put the wrong number in, because they would have been so pissed at me. But anyway, I got the catalog, we ordered it, and then there's that long wait. Because back then you couldn't just pull up like USPS tracking or UPS tracking. You just waited, and hoped that it came. And man, it seemed like weeks that it took for this game to finally get here. And as the days are going by and I'm thinking about it, I start thinking about the copy protection, right? And I start thinking about FuncoLand. And what did FuncoLand always do to us? They only had the game. You didn't always have the box. You didn't have the manual. And I thought, oh man, if this is coming on floppy disk, what if it's missing a floppy disk? What if it's missing the copy protection manual and I can't play it? Then what am I going to do? So I'm so freaked out that I'm not going to be able to get this game, or I'm going to get it and it's going to be in pieces. Thank God it arrived. The package opened up. The box was in great condition. And here you go again. Floppy disk here for good old X-Wing. And how many floppy disks was this one? I think this was also 5 floppy disks. But yep, still have the floppy disk for that. And it came kind of with the same thing, the Starfighter Pilot Manual. And this was the thing I was praying that it came with, because yes, it did have the very, very secret codes to get bypass the copy protection there. So X-Wing, more the same. Obviously, it was the first game that came out before TIE Fighter, so it didn't really have a lot of the refinements that TIE Fighter provided it. So I didn't have as great of a time in X-Wing as I did TIE Fighter because it definitely felt dated. However, it was still fun, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. All the way up to the last point of the game where you try to do a Death Star trench run. The game engine for this was not made for the Death Star trench run, but regardless, I finished it. There were expansion packs that were available for this as well. And I did play the expansion packs because eventually I did pick up the collector CD-ROM for X-Wing because I wanted to check out those additional missions and I wanted to get back into X-Wing. Unfortunately, they were very difficult, not very fun, so I didn't get very far into those. So these days, if you want to play X-Wing or you want to play TIE Fighter, you can do so by going to Good Old Games and you can purchase both X-Wing and TIE Fighter. I think it comes with all the expansions. TIE Fighter comes with the 94 and 98 edition, and I think X-Wing comes with the original edition as well as the CD-ROM edition too. So you have some options to play. They don't look great. Again, this collector CD-ROM versions look a little bit better. They're definitely dated, and I tried playing this on a Xbox One controller. Even after all these years, you still really just need a joystick and a keyboard to get the maximum enjoyment out of here. I was still pressing stuff on the keyboard. I'm sure I could adjust some key bindings on this thing, but it's just not as intuitive as the original flight stick joystick scheme was. So a lot of great memories with these games, guys. I flew a lot of missions, a lot of intrigue, a lot of mystery to this. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video on both TIE Fighter and X-Wing. If you have any memories of these great games, I would totally like for you to leave it in the comments below, because playing this, just both versions, just today, and playing just a couple missions and getting destroyed brought back a lot of great memories for me. And I want to hear yours. So thanks again for watching, and until next time, take it easy.